Good afternoon, and welcome to the Wednesday afternoon conference call with Trusts Unlimited. This is Jim George speaking. I'm the non-attorney spokesman and facilitator for Trusts Unlimited, and I'd like to thank all of you for taking the time to listen to this call. Today is April 23rd. There's a lot going on, a lot to discuss. This will be a little shorter call this week. As you know, last weekend was Easter, and I hope you all had a wonderful Easter. But because it was Easter, I was not able to follow up on the calls and emails that had come in. As a result, I have a rather substantial backload of individuals that I need to get in contact with for a number of reasons. So this is going to be a little shorter call so that I can get back to those individuals. So let's go ahead and get right into the information. The way I see things right now, the reinstitution and revaluation of the Iraqi dinar is in progress. And as I've discussed many times, particularly in the last few months, Iraq has finally reached a place where if they do not reinstitute their currency, they will be a failed nation state. They've just made too many obligations that can only be met with a new exchange rate. And there's a lot going on globally. First, I want to touch on some of the things that Donald Trump's been doing. He's really reestablishing trade globally with the establishment of the tariffs. And when he announced the tariffs, he did so by referring to the beginning of a new golden age. And what he was referring to was the first golden age of America. I've mentioned this before, a period roughly between 1880 and 1910, prior to the establishment of the Federal Reserve and the federal income tax, where the United States wealth came externally through tariffs, not internally through taxation. And Trump's been whittling away at the federal income tax, at least nibbling at the corners, and he's suggesting he's going to be doing a lot more of that as well. But with the institution of these tariffs, again, he's moving back to what he refers to as a new golden age. The first golden age was referred to as the Gilded Age. So this is, I guess, the Gilded Age 2.0. He's also been at work in the Middle East. He has basically put Iran on notice. And one of the things that's got to happen is they have to stop fomenting war through the proxies in Israel and the Middle East. And they also have to stop involving themselves in neighboring countries, of course, one of which is Iraq. And Iran has been pilfering for decades in Iraq. But it's interesting, Trump had sent a letter to Iran, and the response from Iran was very muted, kind of unlike what we've seen in the past. And one of the other things Trump has repeatedly says is that Iran will never possess a nuclear weapon. Recently he was asked, well, what do you intend to do to ensure that is the case? And he very matter-of-factly said, whatever it takes. So I think Iran is aware that unlike the previous administration, he's serious about this, and anything that curtails the activities of Iran helps Iraq. The other thing, of course, Trump is doing is he's drilling for more oil. He's creating a larger supply. The price of oil is dropping, and as a result, there are going to be deficits in Iraq's budget because the projected revenues will not be there as the result of the reduction in the price of oil. Of course, the solution to that, or one of them at least, is to reinstitute their currency, and I think that's part of what Trump had planned all along. But let's take a little bit closer look in Iraq. A lot of things are in limbo. The new salaries that are supposed to go out are currently in limbo. The HCL, which involves the payments to citizens of the country from the profit of the sale of oil, has been a little held up, although there is great progress between Kurdistan and Baghdad in terms of the agreement of the HCL. The budget tables, and, of course, the release of the new category small notes. All of these things are in limbo, waiting for the new exchange rate. But remember, all of these things would not be proceeding with consummating all of these things without the expectation of a change in the exchange rate. So that's very good news as well. Then we have the currency transactions that have already transpired. The international contracts that Iraq has signed to rebuild their infrastructure, their electric grid, roads and water systems, and, of course, the currency swaps with other nations. All of these things can only be done with a clear understanding that the Iraqi dinar will reinstitute, and the individuals that are parties to these agreements either have a minimum rate they can expect or at least a parameter of where they expect the rate to fall, because there'd be no reason to enter into a contract for payment if you're not going to be paid. The other issue in country, of course, are the bank reforms. The country is transitioning to digital banking services and digital currency, and one of the main reasons for that, of course, is the pilfering of Iran, which has really bled the wealth of the nation, and that's going to stop. They've announced there's going to be no further release of the 3-0 notes, which leaves the citizens high and dry. They don't have a currency. They've also established what they call a virtual banking initiative, which is educating the citizens on the new digital system and the release of the new smaller notes. So once again, everything's moving in this direction. Then there's the budget law amendments, and oil companies in Kurdistan will now be paid directly for the sale of oil to Turkey, which, of course, is part of the agreement between Kurdistan and Baghdad. So everything is moving systematically in the right direction, and it bears repeating. Without the reinstitution and revaluation of the Iraqi dinar, given what they've done, Iraq is a failed nation state. They simply cannot proceed without a new rate. They don't have sufficient foreign currencies. They can't use the U.S. dollar. They can't use their own domestic currency as 1310. The only thing they can do, and it's all that's left, is the reinstitution and revaluation of the Iraqi dinar. The other thing I'll mention is the CBI operations. The disclosure of the new rate is being withheld for a couple of reasons. First, Soudani believes that there are just too many corrupt individuals in the parliament, and so they don't want to release the rate. In other words, Parliament will be the last to know. I know they're chomping at the bit over this, but nevertheless, that's the case. And the other issue is they want to make absolutely sure that Iran is not in a position to pilfer or steal any further from Iraq. So that's where we find ourselves right now. They've reached the point of no return. The issue with the tariffs is also important because Trump actually placed tariffs on Iraq. And the reason he did that, well, it's twofold. First, the production of oil domestically substantially increases the global supply of oil, which continues to reduce the price of a barrel of oil globally. That hurts Iraq to the extent that they've relied so much on the sale of oil. It's their major source of revenue. So when the price of oil drops substantially, so does the revenue generated for Iraq. So Trump's done a couple of things. Reduce the price of oil, and he's put and tariffs on Iraqi goods and services. So the only thing Iraq can do to offset all of that is increase the value of their domestic currency. So this is where we find ourselves. Now, phase one for those of us that have currencies is to purchase the dinar, the Vietnamese dong. I was going to get into a little bit of the dong today, but as I said, I'm so backlogged with individuals that that need and deserve our assistance, I'm going to have to concentrate primarily on that. But the Vietnamese dong is very attractive too. Those of us that have dinar and dong and some of the other currencies were hopeful that we would have been in the banks years ago. That, however, was not the case. But as I said, we've reached the point of no return in Iraq. It's only a matter of time, and I mean a very short period of time. But once we walk out of the bank, as happy as we are for the receipt of that windfall, now we have to manage that money. Now we have to protect that money. Now we have to ensure that we can pass that along to our children and to our grandchildren. And unfortunately, the sad fact is that 4 out of 5 windfalls are gone within 5 years due to mismanagement, fraud, and litigation. Mismanagement, 2 sources of mismanagement. One is inexperience. Many individuals that have currencies have never managed a large sum of money before, and that's a full-time job, and it does require experience to be successful at it. And the other issue is just the human element, greed. When people receive windfalls, it does funny things to people. Sometimes it exposes their personal weaknesses. Sometimes it creates new ones. But individuals that are, for the first time in their life, receiving such a large sum of money are lost. They don't quite know what to do, and as a result, they make bad decisions. The other issue is fraud. Now, new money attracts the worst kind of people, professional scammers, people that make a living basically off of the suffering of other individuals. And I've been in the money business for over 40 years, and there's nothing more pathetic than to see an individual, whether it's a windfall or an inheritance, or perhaps they've had money all their life and they've lost it all. It's a terrible place to be psychologically, and of course none of us want to find ourselves in that position. And the third thing is litigation. Individuals, particularly individuals with windfalls, will find that there are individuals, nefarious individuals, that will do whatever they can to try to take from you something through frivolous lawsuits, invented crimes, anything they can imagine. And there's a way to protect yourself from all of that, and that's phase 2, which is to protect that wealth through placing it in trust. Now, there are other entities one can establish to protect their wealth. They can establish sub-S corporations, LLCs, family limited partnerships, other types of entities and vehicles, but there is nothing to protect your wealth better than placing it in trust, particularly sophisticated trust package authored by our attorney, Robert Bly, Trusts Unlimited. And I want to touch just very briefly on the benefits that you enjoy by establishing your trust. And let's say that you're an individual, hardworking, middle-class individual. You had, over the course of a few years, when you had a little extra money, purchased dinar, and let's say you had about somewhere between 10 and 15 million dinar. Well, if the dinar were to come back at the rate it was when it went into the program rate at 322, that means you're looking at anywhere from $30 to $45 million. And there's every reason to believe it will be substantially higher than 322. I've discussed that in the past, but for the sake of argument, let's just work with $3. We're talking about an individual going from basically a middle-income situation to being an extremely wealthy individual. That in and of itself is a daunting task. But, of course, as I said, 4 out of 5 windfalls are gone within 3 to 5 years due to mismanagement, fraud, and litigation. So you can avoid a lot of that by simply establishing your trust. And this is basically how it would work. contact us. We'd send you our initial trust package. You'd review the package. When you understand how everything worked, and of course you could contact us by phone or email if you had questions. You decided to proceed and you've established your trust, and you will then assign your currencies on paper to that trust package. And of course at some point the currencies would then revalue within that trust. Now, what are the benefits that you enjoy as the result of doing this? Well, first, you will preserve your privacy and your anonymity. No one will know that you even have a trust. You operate personally with a Social Security number. Your trust operates on an EIN number, two separate entities. But even if someone is aware that the trust exists, unless they have a legitimate claim against you, they won't even be able to ascertain what's in that trust. So your privacy and your anonymity is preserved. Second, you're going to avoid IRS scrutiny because the business activities are occurring within the trust, not you personally. Now, the IRS likes to pursue low-hanging fruit. So are they going to go after Joe Lunchbox, or are they going to go after a very sophisticated trust package, which they should understandably assume has also very sophisticated legal protections? The third thing is pre-RV gifting. Now, you can certainly gift currencies to friends and family pre-RV, and by doing so, you can avoid the federal gift tax. But if you've established our trust, you can gift currencies to family and friends through the trust, avoid the federal gift tax, and have control of the post-RV proceeds if you wish. And as you know, there are families and there are situations where you do not feel comfortable giving certain individuals, for any number of reasons, a substantial amount of money. But because of this trust and because of the special sub-trust within the package that allows you to gift currencies, you can again gift the pre-RV currencies, avoid the federal gift tax, and still have complete control of the post-RV proceeds. The trust will also allow you to avoid the cost, delay, and exposure of probate and the federal estate tax. This means no one will know what's in the trust. No one will know who your heirs are. No one will know how much each of those heirs stands to inherit. And because you have avoided the federal estate tax, which can be as much as 55% the entire estate, your heirs will receive 100 cents on the dollar of that estate. Lastly, the trust provides asset protection that's not available through any other entity. You can avoid pre-RV, you avoid something called the Uniform Fraudulent Transfer Act. Very simply put, you have 10 million dinar. You paid $10,000 for the currency. You then transfer those currencies out of title to the trust. Let's say it revalues for $1. You now have 10 million in trust. Can you be sued for 10 million? No. Why? Because when you transferred the currencies out of title to another entity, they were only worth $10,000. So that caps any potential lawsuit to that amount. There's also a post-RV benefit I like to refer to as limited liability stop loss. This means that as you purchase items post-RV, after you've acquired this wealth, and this is what's really being protected, your net worth after you've acquired this wealth. When you purchase homes, cars, boats, etc., you place each of them in their own separate sub-trust to be managed by the master trust. This is a legal strategy referred to as segregation of assets. So, for example, if someone slips and hurts themselves in one of your rental properties, or you're in a car accident or something of that nature, it's only the specific asset that would be involved in the litigation. All of the other assets are in other separate sub-trusts, which are separate legal persons not directly involved in the litigation. So this is how you protect this wealth after you've acquired this windfall through the valuation of the currencies. So purchasing the currencies and patiently waiting for them to revalue is one thing that you went through. That was time-consuming. I know for a lot of individuals, because I've spoken to you, it was difficult. We've even had individuals call and say, I hate to do it, but I'm in a financial situation where I'm going to need to sell some of these currencies, and my fear is I'm going to sell them, and then the revaluation will happen the next day. It's unfortunate that these situations occur, but be that as it may, we purchase these currencies. Many of us have done without in order to hold these currencies and patiently wait. But then the day comes when you go to the bank and you exchange those currencies, and now you want to protect that wealth for yourself and your family. You spent the money, you patiently waited, and now you want to make sure that that money cannot be taken from you. And the only guarantee that I'm aware of is the establishment of a trust package similar to this. I've seen a lot of trusts. I've been dealing with trusts my entire professional career, and I've never seen a trust provide the benefits that this trust package has. As a matter of fact, the currencies I had were in actually another trust, and when I came, fortunately, to represent Trusts Unlimited and looked at their trust package, it made sense to me to transfer everything from my existing trust to this trust. And we do have a lot of individuals who got our trust package, and they said, my God, I've got a revocable trust, or I've got a trust I set up years ago, and I'm going to have to transfer everything to this trust. And, of course, we assist them to do just that. So this is the information I wanted to provide to you today. As I said, Iraq is moving forward. They're dotting I's. They're crossing T's. In my opinion, we're getting very, very close. That's good news for all of us that have currencies, but it means those of you that have not as yet established your trust are running out of time to do so. You can contact us by email or phone if you'd like to get our initial package. The package does contain everything you need if you wish to proceed, but again, you're under no obligation to do so. You can review the package, contact us if you have any questions. Again, if you wish to proceed, everything you need is included in the package. Once you receive the package, you'll have detailed instructions of how to assign the currencies to the trust and execute the trust so it's in force. Once that's done, there's literally nothing else to do until you go to the bank to do your exchange. Now, if you want to get our initial package, and I certainly hope you will contact us, if for no other reason than to gain this very valuable knowledge, you can contact us by email. Our email address is trusts with an S, unlimited, LLC at gmail.com. That's trusts with an S, unlimited, LLC at gmail.com. And our phone service is 307-274-4122. That's 307-274-4122. Again, contact us by email or phone. We'll get our trust package out to you right away. It contains everything you need if you wish to proceed. You can call me directly. You will have my direct phone number, so if you have any questions, you can call, and I'll be happy to assist you. Again, I'm not going to go to a Q&A today, which is our weekly practice, only because I have so many people that I have to contact. To be honest, I didn't contact a lot of people over Easter weekend, which I usually do. I work 7 days a week, so I'm very backlogged, and these people need to be responded to, particularly the individuals that want to proceed with a trust and have a few questions before they send everything in. So that comes first. So, again, I'd like to thank all of you for taking the time to listen to this call. I strongly suggest you contact us to get our initial no-obligation package. Worst case scenario, you'll learn a hell of a lot by reviewing it. Best case scenario, you'll get your trust in place, and when you go to walk out of the bank, you'll not only have received a windfall, but you will know that that windfall has been protected for you and for your family. Our next call is next Wednesday. Certainly, if something of a dramatic nature were to happen between now and then, we'll try to get out an emergency email and schedule an emergency conference call. But failing that, we'll be back next Wednesday, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Thanks so much for listening, everyone. Have a great week, and pay close attention because things are moving rather quickly. Take care now. Bye-bye.